So, should you be buying Circle? That's the question on everyone's mind right now because this stock is absolutely blowing it out the park. It has probably had one of the most successful IPOs, especially for a cryptocurrency based company. And everyone is asking the question, should I actually buy Circle right now? And by the time we're done with this video, I know we're going to take a little break from all the madness that's unfolding with regards to Iranian attacks on US bases in Qatar and all that madness. You just only need to go over to X to find out what the story is. And even then, when you find out about it, is it true? Isn't it? Who knows? But the story is right now is about Circle. Want to make some money? So let's break it all down. So what is Circle? Circle is just a company that provides financial institutions a much easier way of transacting. Going into the website, you can see it says here, enabling financial institutions to achieve seamless, near-instant global money movement across previously fragmented networks. Now, you guys may be familiar with the old Genius bill that is meant to come into action. And it's ironic how now all of a sudden Circle's IPO has been able, or should I say, been authorized when before it wasn't. It was denied many, many a times. Back when good old Gary Gensler, the egg, had his claws into cryptocurrency. But now Circle's IPO has actually got a lot of people interested, not just because of its price action, but of course the regulatory framework that is surrounding stablecoins. And I know you guys are familiar with it with regards to the Genius Act. Now, the Genius Act is legislation for stablecoin issuance. And of course, how is it going to be used? Well, when you think about it, they are trying to back stablecoins to the US Treasury. Now, if that happens, what does that mean? Well, it means a number of things. It means that investors can get involved in risk on cryptocurrency because they know that it's backed by the US Treasury. And if that encouragement for investors is welcomed, they're going to start buying these stable coins. That will naturally then end up leading the yields lower because everything is backed by the US Treasury. And then, of course, what happens next? Interest rates start to come down, and that is a great thing. But according to this here, it says that it might not be a great thing because it's only going to be favorable for Donald Trump. Well, if we get to that story, we get to that story. Right now, it's serving itself as a utility, and a lot of people are liking what they're seeing. In front of you is the chart for Circle. Now, there's a lot of information on this chart that's going to help you understand how you can extract the right information to assist you in whether or not you should buy this stock. Fundamentally, whenever there is an IPO, you will always have an initial move at the beginning. There will always be this big move to the upside, all the excitement, the initial public offering has been a success, happy days. Then what happens? It starts to pull back. Now, if we just go back into it and we go and have a look at Coinbase's original IPO, you can see what happened. Go into the weekly time frame. Over here was the IPO right there. And then they saw success. And then, of course, it started to consolidate. And then from that point, it started to continue to make a move to the downside, even though its earnings per share were doing relatively well. However, that was a time when the market had topped out and there was obviously everything pulling back. We had just gone into the Ukraine-Russian war. So everything was sort of negative, to say the least. Now, with that being said, you can see that Coinbase has now made a nice successful run up. But remember, Coinbase was one of the first cryptocurrency-based companies that hit the stock market. So there was a lot of hype for it. But Circle is coming out with some different type of price action. As you can see right now, it started off its initial public offering. It hit a low of around $64 and then shot all the way up to around $123. It has increased so significantly. It's now trading at $259 with the day's high over here of around, nearly $300 a share. This thing is unstoppable. But why is it unstoppable right now? Fundamentally, there is nothing about this company that if we were to look at it, you'd think, okay, that is a good stock. I mean, if we just go over and have a look at its earnings per share on the left over here, you can see there's not that much activity happening with its earnings per share. On 2020, it was estimated at 0.08 cents. And then they were draw down again, look, minus 2.24. So anyone that had bought this stock back in the day or anyone that had access to a stock like this, you wouldn't be earning anything. Given that it wasn't a stock back in the day, there was no earnings based on their fundamentals. It was poor. There's nothing for it, okay? But then when we look at it right now, it's a different story. Of course, when you see a successful IPO, it usually is short-lived. But when you think about it, is this just the beginning for Circle? Because quite frankly, in my time studying stocks and watching IPOs, they always pull back, and they tend to pull back pretty aggressively. Not Circle. Circle doesn't look like it's going to stop. And the reason that I don't think it's going to stop, there will be retraces. Don't get it twisted. They will pull back. If you go over to the daily time frame, they haven't stopped. There's been gap up after gap up. And when you go into smaller time frames and you look at its everyday price action, it's just every small pullback has been an opportunity for investors to get involved. If you look at the pink bars down here, you can see that volume on the sell side is much lower in comparison to all the volume on the buy side. So we know for a fact on a day-to-day that as long as this stock keeps on getting traction and it keeps on bucking the trend, it's just going to continue to rise and rise and rise. Now, and when we look at it, you can see that it hasn't yet had, or should I say, it's only had 3 down days, and those down days have been on low volume. So again, that is another pointer to take into consideration that since it started, it's only been able to trade negative for 3 days, and that negative price action was on low volume. Every day that it's traded positive has been on high volume. So it's showing you that there is institutional interest in this company. Now, going back into the chart, if we go over and have a look at the weekly, you can see that we've got this story here of number of funds that has yet to be updated. Now, this is really important for us because it helps us understand if there's going to be institutional investment stepping in. Quite frankly, with a market cap of 58 billion already when it started off at 24 billion from its initial public offering, we go into it and we can see that it averagely trades around 44 million and 40,000 shares per day. Any stock that trades above 1 million shares per day is a very good stock to be entertaining. Now, whether you're a day trader or whether you are an investor and you don't really want to see too much volatility, a stock that trades more than 1 million shares per day usually gives you the sign that there's going to be stability. It's not going to be crazy volatile. I mean, when we look at Nvidia, that is a pretty volatile asset when it starts to move, but that too also trades way more than 1 million shares per day. It's up there with Circle at 44 million nearly. So the more shares that they exchange per day, the less likely you're going to see lots of volatility. And given that Circle's price right now is pretty expensive for this company, based on the way it's behaving, my trajectory price target for Circle is going to be in the regions of anything between $500 and $800 a share. I do believe that they're going to end up hitting the market cap way more than 50, 60 billion. It's going to surpass 100 billion, no problem. Why? Because it solves a problem. It fixes something. And it doesn't matter whatever stock it is that you buy. If it solves a problem and people are getting interest into it, their interest is shown with the price action. That's the commitment. That's where the volume is. Now, if you're a seasoned investor, you'll then understand what I mean by paying attention to its quarterly earnings, its sales. You're going to want to see if the company is going to be doing business. Naturally, that is something that you need to be paying attention to as and when the data comes out. You can see we've got information down here on what their business model has been about. And we know that the earnings haven't been so great, but their sales have been decent. Now, what we're looking for is when it comes to the next earnings for Circle, we want to see accelerated earnings from the previous quarter at March end 2025. So what we're looking for is earnings to come in higher than 32% and sales to come in higher than 58%. And when you get 2 quarters that show acceleration of earnings and sales for 2 quarters, we've already got the 1 and we need to see another 2. So total 3 quarters of accelerated earnings and sales, you've got yourself a winner because it's showing you that regardless of whatever's going on in the environment, whatever this stock is surrounded by. So if it was an oil-based stock, you're not always going to get earnings and sales continuously accelerating. But because this is about cryptocurrency and because everything is evolving with the Genius Act and all the legislation surrounding crypto, you've got a pro-crypto government in power in the US, it's only going to encourage investors to get involved in this because they're looking at the longer run thinking that it's going to be a good thing. And if they're all going to be coming over to Circle as the provider of the stablecoins to create seamless money movement transactions, then of course, a lot of institutional investors and fund managers are going to get involved in this. I do have a projection that I do believe that we're going to end up seeing quite a significant amount of fund owners stepping in and picking up this stock. but we haven't got the data just yet to tell us how many companies are actively buying this stock. But based on the way it's performing, you can see bright as day that they are picking up a lot of it. Kathy makes me laugh, man. She's always selling. And when she sells, is it because she thinks there's something going to happen? No. She runs a fund and her goal is to make money. She's recently sold $100 million worth of shares in Circle in the last 2 days, and she believes that there's a potential pullback that could be happening, so she's encouraging a sell. But she's also buying other things. So it's just depending on her portfolio philosophy or the targets that she's got to meet, she's taking off risk by selling a few of these shares. Now, when we look at the share price itself, does it look like you want to be selling this? It's rocketing higher and higher, and people are like, oh my God, I don't want to miss out on it. But this is where it comes as important information for you. You're looking at the chart and you're seeing that it's at $255 a share. That's pretty expensive for a stock. You want to try and buy as much of it as you can. Treat this as you would as buying Bitcoin. And when I say that in the sense where this company doesn't seem like it's not going to be around for a long time. It looks like it's going to be a major player, especially when you have been listed on the US stock market. That doesn't mean that they can't be removed off the market. If something bad happens, then the company just stops trading, and then, of course, everything gets liquidated. But, of course, with the Genius Act and all this pro-crypto endorsement that we're getting from the current administration in the US, then you can assume that there's going to be some longevity in this stock. So how do you play it? The first thing you want to be making sure of is finding out who are the fund owners stepping in and buying up this stock, okay? Now, we won't know how many fund owners are buying it, but we are going to find out very soon once we've had the information updated on this page. So make sure you stick around for the channel, hit the like button, subscribe, so that we can update that, because I'll be talking about Circle quite a bit every day now, and we'll be diving into the developments of what's going on with the Genius Act, and of course, which customers are these guys going to be servicing, okay? Once we get this information about the fund ownership, it's going to then reveal to us how many banks and how many funds are actively playing it. Then as time progresses, we're going to get more information about its earnings per share growth rate, its earnings stability. And that one thing right there, earning stability, is something that's very, very important, because earning stability gives you, as the investor, the idea that if you were to continuously invest in this company, does their business model continuously provide a service that people will always be taking on? Whether or not we are in a downward spiral in the economy or whether everything is great, is this a recession-proof company? Is it a bear market-proof company? And when you're dealing with stable coins, what does everyone in crypto do? They either get rid of their risk and sit in stable coins, and then they try and generate yield in various DeFi platforms so that they can put that USDT to work. Right, you're not getting that much, but fundamentally, this company could be one of those companies that you always pay attention to, regardless of the environment in the marketplace. So should you buy Circle? I mean, with all the financial advice that's been thrown around, I'm going to give you the flavor and you make the decision. Number one, market cap has completely just blown everything across the board. It's had one of the most successful IPOs for a cryptocurrency-based company, way better than Coinbase. Coinbase had one good day or one good week, and then it slumped. This thing doesn't look like it's stopping. However, doesn't mean that it can't stop. It will pull back because investors will want to try and take advantage of it being cheap at some point. How far will it go down? It all depends. Kathy's selling some. There will be other companies that are selling it as well. Don't think it can keep on going up forever, but the opportunities to buy it at bid, which means when prices come down a little bit, during those consolidation periods, you really want to get involved. Second, the actual business model of Circle is going to solve a problem for many, many companies. And you've got to understand, they're not asking for the average Joe to get involved in this sort of business. They are relying on institutional companies to come and use their service. That's where the big money is for them. So when the big money comes in and it's represented by their market cap, you know that the services that they're going to be providing are going to be for the big players. Remember, their market philosophy is that they want to try and achieve a seamless, easy money movement service. That's their goal. And it's not a goal that's going to be compromised. It's not the first company that's offered issuance of stable coins. Look at USDT. USDT, there's no control with that. It's China. Trump's not really about that. It all has to be homegrown. Circle supplies that. So you've got endorsement from Trump. You've got endorsement from the administration overall. They're going to make life a lot easier for this company. There won't be any legislation limitations for this company. So that's ticked off for you as well. Now, for the long term, is it a company that could be recession proof? Could we deem it as a defense-based stock where you sit in cash? Now, remember, when investors want to take off risk, what do? They go into dollars. So they sell their assets and they just sit in cash. Now, as a company, there's going to be a lot of issuance of USDC because that's going to be the native coin they're dealing with. Well, the more they keep on printing that bad boy, if there is a demand for it, that only means investors are going to retain it. That means their services are going to continuously be used. So you've got to then say to yourself, is this a company that can withstand the test of time through various economic conditions? In my opinion, yes. So with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, I believe that Coin, or should I say Circle, is going to be a massive competitor for Coinbase. If anything, it will take the top light from it completely. I have a price projection that I believe this is going to go easily to $500 to anywhere between $500 and $600 a share. Its market cap will double from now, so we could be easily sitting on a $120 billion market cap. I mean, come on, man. The stablecoin market is big. So there is nothing stopping this. And the only thing that's holding this company up, and it's going to keep on having great interest, is the fact that the administration is very crypto friendly. This company had failed its IPO. It wasn't allowed to be listed on the US stock market. Now that it's on, Genius Act, put 2 and 2 together, ladies and gentlemen. Just make sure you sell XRP and get yourself involved in Circle. Mad love and respect. Peace.